carry on. Sharing peace, understanding and joy to the world. Oh, 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 oh. I hope you're loving and I hope you're sharing. I hope you're loving this Christmas. I hope you're giving and I hope you're caring. I hope you're loving. Ay, 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 ay. Oh, 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 oh. Ay, ay, ay. Eh, 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 eh. Oh, 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 oh. Ay, ay, ay. Huh, 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 oh. I hope you're loving and I hope you're sharing. I hope you're giving this Christmas. I hope you're loving and I hope you're caring. I hope you're loving, sharing, giving, kissing, hugging. Ah, 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 oh, 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 oh. Mhm. Ah, 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 ah. Merry Christmas, everyone.
I woke up 5 o'clock this morning, as I accustomed doing each morn. As usual, I head straight for the kitchen. Right away, I knew something was wrong. Cake batter in a bowl, but the oven was cold. Looking wrong, I couldn't find a spoon. Not a protein was hanging. The ham still wanted boiling. I can't find my wife even. Seems like she gone. Yvonne, why is Christmas Day you choose? Yvonne, girl, you have me so confused. It's Christmas morning, look neighbors coming and parents playing. Girl, you don't know how I'm feeling. My heart is burning, my belly griping. Look, people laughing. Yvonne, why you leave me so and gone?
Parents set up inside the grande. I made this Indian beauty.
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry. It is yesterday, Tuesday edition of the Corridor Transformation this night. And of course, we welcome all of you across the globe, across the region, across the hemisphere, and of course, across Trinidad and Tobago, east, west, north, south, central. Our friends in Tobago and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web at this point, a pleasant good night to you. Don't forget, of course, we feel confident enough to say share, share, share. And your favorite nighty program, of course, is here. So feel free to share. Because, once again, your favorite nighty program is here. And of course, hosted by none other than your humble servant, LENNOX. So yes, indeed, of course, we have a bumper program for you as per usual, of course, we will look at the foreign exchange situation, and we will look at the hypocrisy. Let me repeat, the hypocrisy and the swindle nature of Rowley and this government, that he knows is a lame duck administration, knows that they are on their last breath, but will of course try to make it look as though he's not bothered. He's not bothered. Well, I'm going to show you the same thing he did to Kamala Prasad-Bissessar leading up to the 2015 elections. He is experiencing that now, and he is extremely uncomfortable. And you will hear things that he would have been saying back then, that you would say, well, look, it appeared to be prophetic, meaning that he himself would now be repeating those things that he was saying was attributed to Kamala Prasad-Bissessar and the UNC when he lied his way into government and lied his way to stay in government. I'm talking about the PNM and, of course, Keith Christopher Rowley, that rapscallion, that swindlist, and that, of course, a specialist in, of course, deflection, deception, and attempting to bully his way into, of course, not just power, but I'm not going to stay in power, but into our minds and hearts. No, we shall reject because we know what better is, and better certainly, by far, is certainly more than what Rowley and they have offered, and what they can offer, and what they are offering now. Yes, indeed. But in the meantime, let's hear some parang of delicious nature.
But singing is always natural. Gucci, 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 la la. November in Vijana. Don't know nothing about no past there. That love speaks Spanish very well. Gucci, la la. 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 Gucci, la la.
Here the next thing. The PNM, when they enter that Balise house, they get a notebook, a secret notebook, on how to thief the PNM way. And when you see Naikwan, and you're hearing Naikwan Ainsley Gill, the PNM favorite boy, but now they're trying to ditch he. They're leaving he alone because Naikwan finally sink. It started as World GTL in 2005, but right now, Naikwan gone through, can't produce nothing, can't pay its bills, owing more than 346 million US, plus they have to pay a former PNM independent senator $21 million for firing he and them paying him. They still owing workers 6 months salary. They ain't selling nothing. They can't pay back the loan, and Republic Bank, I'm telling you, to the shareholders of Republic Bank, all you have to ask the board of directors, the CEO and the directors of Republic Bank, one, how did Nikwan qualify? Naikwan or Nikwan, however all I want to pronounce it, don't blame the Douglas. I'm not Japanese, okay? How did Naikwan qualify for 120 million US loan from Republic Bank? You see, you citizens are shareholders in Republic Bank also. And you customers of Republic Bank, when Republic Bank lose like that, they have to make back the money somehow. How you feel they're going to make it back? Oh you mean increase charges and fees for you? Okay. I don't know. You have to ask them. They all your bank. So how did it, what was the collateral used for a $120 million loan? So now that Carrie Chris has downgraded Naikwan down to Do Invest and going worse in December again. And Ainsley Gill, the PNM, lost all the PNM friends. So he on his own, with no money, with nothing to sell, with a plant that nearly blew up twice. And no more gas, because your government gas, your gas was given to them by Franklin Cannon, the PNM. Republic Bank, are you going to answer these questions? Run the video from the press conference today. So what's NICOAN?
Final question to Senator Roberts about NICOAN. Keith Rowley appeared to dismiss the NICOAN issue by referring to the Peter Touchdown Magado. What is your view on that response by?
What is my view? The rats are running from the ship in droves. Keith Rowley created the ship. Keith Rowley's government took Malcolm Jones out of court. The Privy Council ridiculed Trinidad and Tobago and the PNM government for their actions. Keith Rowley and his Attorney General got a paragraph advice from Vincent Nelson, who they were also negotiating an indemnity with, to try and frame two UNC former ministers and senators. Keith Christopher Rowley's government gave NICOAN the assets of worth 400 million US for 35 million, 10 million cash and 25 million preference shares. Ainsley Gill is a PNM. Alison Due Diligence is a PNM. David Small is an independent senator. I say with a smile. Rowley's decision, Rowley's government gave NICOAN minister's share of gas. Alison Due Diligence, who is Rowley's PNM chairman of the Port Authority, was on Republic Bank board, and somehow NICOAN got 120 million US loan that I am baffled how they qualified for even a dollar loan. So
yes, people, of course, and the focus here clearly is about foreign exchange and the shortage thereof. And therefore, the point I was making, and I continue to make, is that the mismanagement of the resources of the country as far as foreign exchange is concerned, in addition, of course, to the mismanagement, abuse, and, of course, nepotism, corruption, as far as the economy is concerned, and the decadence and the destitutism that our economy, the lifeblood of any contemporary or modern nation, depends on having a robust and sustainable economy. And what Rowley and they have done is destroy that. And don't tell me I know what I'm talking about. You could say Rowley don't know what he's talking about. Oh, that the swindler he is, that the dishonest, extremely culpable in terms of deception, and the rapscallion, and the total and obvious inability to manage any damn thing, but of course projecting himself as some kind of guru, when in fact he is suffering from an acute case of inferiority complex. But to make up for that, to compensate, he will then of course lash out and pretend of course he knows, when in fact he has displayed an acute sense of ignorance. Such an ignoramus ought not to have been, apart from his irascibility, because somehow he believes that, of course, aggression is the best form of defense, and therefore fooling people, as we saw in the parliament only yesterday, when, of course, he said in no uncertain terms, he's not devaluing the dollar. But, of course, I want to show you tonight, and you will be amazed tonight, because you would want to know if in 2015, when Rowley was talking, is it that he predicted the disaster and the destruction that he himself, as Prime Minister, leading, of course, a political organization called the PNM, that in itself is corrupt, that if he predicted what is unfolding today as far as foreign exchange is concerned and other matters relating to our socio-economic and psycho-cultural survivability in a modern society. But let's go to the lines first. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Welcome. All right, it appears we have lost that one. But I want to show you tonight, because it is about our lifeblood. Foreign exchange is that. And therefore, let's go straight to that proof that I've put together. And I'm sure at the end of tonight's program, you will agree and you will be convinced, without a doubt, indubitably that Rowley and they are persons who ought not to have been trusted, should not have been entrusted with the management of the country, and therefore their conmanism knows no boundary, and they will continue so to do as their anxiety peaks closer and closer to the inevitable election. I will show you as well. When he was, of course, taunting Kamala Persad-Bissessar, not wanting, of course, to claiming that she didn't want to call the election on time. But we're going to see now if that's another deception again, as he, of course, pretend that he, of course, he is a Democrat, telling us Kamala Persad-Bissessar never said that. That never came out of her mouth. That, of course, there shall be no foreign observers. He said that. And of course, forgetting totally that in 2015, he wrote to all of those institutions such as the CARICOM and, of course, the Commonwealth Secretariat, begging for foreign observers, even though he was not Prime Minister at the time. Now he's Prime Minister. He has gone rogue in terms of course, disrespecting our democracy and the people who would have put him there. And as the Privy Council would have said, you have undermined the Constitution, overstepped your boundary, acted ultra vires when you went with a slim majority in the Parliament, and those are my words, that part of it, and of course, caused a postponement of the local government elections that brought out very clear, according to the Privy Council, that you tried with that small group of persons to overtake the 1.5 million people besides them, minus them, and to arrogate unto yourself and to determine when the election must be called, and of course, who should be voting. When he went to the Parliament with his minuscule majority to only 22 seats over the UNC's 19 seats, and claiming, of course, some kind of authority to interfere with our democracy. And the Privy Council was strident, and they were scathing in their own way, of course. I want to say it, paraphrasing, of course, and to be as euphemistic as possible, because they are clearly a bunch of criminals in public office who will not want to get out of office because they know for certain blue lights and silver bracelets await them in groves. But let's hear Rowley when he was in opposition, people, as far as the foreign exchange is concerned. Let me repeat to you. Listen to Dr. Rowley when he was the opposition leader before 2015 general elections. And you will have to pinch your conscience. You will have to say, as I have when I saw it, read it, listened to it, that if Rowley knew all of that, as he is confessing today, that foreign exchange is dependent, of course, on our ability to earn it, and that the management of it is crucial, and that to have a good governor of the central bank that is in your favor, all of that he did when he got rid, of course, of Jawala at the central bank. Kamala Persad-Bissessar and they did the same thing in order to get someone to manage. But the bottom line is, when Kamala Persad-Bissessar left office in 2015, he, Rowley, and the PNM inherited over $10 billion US in reserves. That is what determines how healthy your economy is. And today, it's about $5 billion. You don't believe me? Listen to what Rowley was saying then as opposition leader and what he is saying now. And you will see whether or not this man is simply a rapscallion of extraordinary dimension. One, is conflicted, is confused, and is confused because of the lies that he would have told us and the possibility that he would have believed his own lies, as he inevitably will be facing, of course, a screeching electoral defeat at the polls whenever, and he must call elections in 2025.
In, when was it? 2011.
So he's now, of course, opposition leader.
Trying to get the president to fire the board of the central bank. Besides the governor, there were 8 members of the board of central bank. The government tried to get the president to remove them. The president refused. You know what this UNC government did?
So he's in opposition.
They appointed 9 people to the board. Because the law had said how many you could appoint. They didn't put a limit. So they realized a little loophole in the law. There was nothing in the law to prevent them from doing that. So they appointed 9 people to the board and made the board a board of 17. So the control they wanted to have by changing the board, because the president didn't agree, they didn't accept the president's control of the situation. They went around the presidential control and appointed 9 people to the board. They now have 17, and they appointed their own governor.
Right, let's pause there. Let's pause there. What did Rowley do when he wanted his own governor, the current guy called Hilaire? What he did? They waited until the sitting president, the titular president, the legal president, the legal president from out of the country, and then the president of the Senate, Kangaloo at the time, who is now president, supposed to reward her with that, went and acted as president. And then, of course, she wrote and fired Jawala Rambaran. Remember that? And for what? Because Rowley and them say that he disclosed information to the public in a democracy where he was leveling with the people as to who got foreign exchange. And he was fired for that. Of course, no evil act, far less for evil thoughts, would go unpunished. So the punishment for the PNM is that Rambaran took them to court, the former governor of the central bank, and the court awarded him over $7 million. And they were so distraught, and they believed that somehow they could do evil and get away with it. You know, they appealed the case. They got to the Privy Council to appeal. Because the appeal court in Trinidad said, give the man the blasted money, but they ain't satisfied. Just like, and I expect the results to be the same. It's just as how they went, of course, to the Privy Council, because they believe that they must not be questioned, that no citizen, because they believe that they have all the power in the country, and there is no checks and balance as far as their presence in the various offices, whether prime minister, whether it be ministers, etc., and boards that they would have appointed, that they must have no fetterment to their conduct and action, and they must not account. And we have seen that, of course, displayed not only in the various issues that we have raised here, but we have seen it, of course, blatantly displayed. When right now, the Minister of Finance should have been given his walking papers, or he himself, but morally depraved as they are, they would stay there and with a straight face insult our respective intelligence, collective and individually, and as if nothing is a bother. Nothing is a bother. You cannot account for $3 billion, and now when it was revised, 2.6 thereabout, and you don't know you have to walk. You don't know you have to give up that position. You don't know that that symbolizes, and of course, in all practicality, is incompetence and impotence. No. So here it is, this hypocrite, when he was opposition leader, saying that the UNC that met a hostile president, obviously it was a PNM focused president that didn't want, of course, to get rid of that person who was Hewitt, a governor that was appointed by the PNM. So he's now, of course, in a state of what we know now as righteous indignation. Is a wrong thing to do. So what the UNC did in order to get their way and to manage the economy as they wanted to, as the newly elected government, they simply did what he just said. They added people to the board, get a majority, and therefore they elected a governor. That to me is brain. They get your way, but not Rowley and they want, of course, to show that they are powerful and will abuse their office. They wait until or orchestrate the sitting president of the country going out of the country, out of the jurisdiction, and then send, of course, Kangaloo, who said that she has read from the Bible of the PNM. And of course, that is an evil Bible. Everybody knows that now. And recommend, of course, the people read from that evil book. I say no. But she went there and she did the bidding of Rowley and got rid of Jawala. That was illegal. Where is the legal action that Hewitt took when the UNC got rid of him by, of course, increasing the number of board members to the central bank? Where is it, Rowley? But in your case, there is always something sinister. There's always something hidden that is evil, that is, of course, will boomerang at the public's expense, at the public's purse, eating away at the public's purse, downgrading the public's purse. That is what he did. Rowley, as opposition leader then, criticizing the UNC for finding a way to have their own governor. He found a way to have his own governor, but he utilized and abused and take advantage of persons who might have been connected to the PNM. Not might have been connected to the PNM, including, of course, the president of the Senate then, Kangaloo, who is now the president, as well as the sitting president who flew out of the country, and she did the hatchet job. Blatantly and in our faces. And them want us to see them as some kind of righteous and some kind of moral and ethical human beings. No, they are beasts in human form. Let's start all over again. Rowley in opposition and how he got rid of how he was arguing about how the UNC got rid of the governor of the central bank, who clearly was not cooperating, and they had a right so to do, and they did. But he, when his turn reached, he did it in such a way that the public purse is further bust open, widened, and of course, to the detriment of the taxpayers and the citizens and young people who may want more lunches in school, laptops, etc., and cannot get because of the profligacy, waste, and absolute dunderheadedness that they have been engaging because of the quest for power. Listen.
In, when was it? 2011, this government tried to get the president to fire the board of the central bank. Besides the governor, there were 8 members of the board of central bank. The government tried to get the president to remove them. The president refused. You know what this UNC government did? They appointed 9 people to the board. Because the law had said how many you could appoint. They didn't put a limit. So they realized a little loophole in the law. There was nothing in the law to prevent them from doing that. So they appointed 9 people to the board and made the board a board of 17. So the control they wanted to have by changing the board, because the president didn't agree, they didn't accept the president's control of the situation. They went around the presidential control and appointed 9 people to the board. They now have 17, and they appointed their own governor. They brought in the man who is now the current governor of the central bank. And at the time we objected, because we knew that this was a very...
That was wisdom instead of your brutal and horrendous approach. But let's go to the lines. President, good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor.
Yes, good night, Mr. Lennox Smith.
Good night to you.
Rowley Holly Tail.
That's right.
I want
Fast and
that
out of place.
this
We know them
Tobago
now.
man out of place.
Yeah.
I don't like that Tobago man. Right. No, we talking about them Chinese all over the place.
Yeah.
I want to go there.
Go ahead, no
but
problem.
we talking foreign exchange.
Yes.
Right? I
Yes.
listened to our program, TC and them, and they're talking how these Chinese coming here and setting up. They're helping them. Right?
Uh-huh.
So, I don't know if you hear about this one with them Chinese were coming the place all over the place just so and setting up appliance store, grocery, this, that, the other. Big.
Yeah.
I hear that as buy we passport, you know, it is alleged. You
Yeah.
ever hear that?
I'm aware. I'm aware. Take right till I'm aware. Go ahead. Yes.
Well, I didn't hear all they say anything about that. These are things you have
Well,
to
these
talk.
are matters that will take time because there are so many other that may take
Take
priority.
time.
But go ahead.
And the thing busting up.
Go ahead.
Take time. This is something that's not right at all inside of this place. Them are born here. What I'm doing with we passport? What kind of thing going on?
But remember, you have a street, Charlotte Street, that is called Chinatown, eh? So that speaks volumes.
I'm talking about them getting our passport.
Well, I'm telling you that...
I want to get cut off about Chinatown.
No, I'm saying
That's what
you
they're
understand they have
doing.
connections. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah,
have
but that's
connections,
wrong.
yes. Yeah.
That's wrong. Right? Another country doing that in the CARICOM, I think is St. Lucia. I can't remember, but one of them doing this kind of thing too.
Yeah, St. Lucia and Dominica.
All right.
Yeah, you have to buy.
Good.
You have to buy your passport as a foreigner.
They're buying it. Eh? What kind of thing is that? So we're studying the foreign exchange. Look at these big establishments they have, and it does be well stocked with all kind of thing. Some of them shit they're selling, we don't want that. All them Trinidad Chinese were born here, they give up the place. You hear? I don't know what go on, but good bit of them give up the place on Charlotte Street. And they used to have every little thing. If you wanted a blue, you want clothespin, any kind of safety pin, you could have go there and get it. But these were coming here. You can't even get a straight pin. You hear? Not a blue soap. Not a bottle of disinfect. It's a set of shit they're selling where people they want. They knows nothing about this place. Right? And let me tell all this something again. I tell all a long time that some of them they talking Spanish. I hear them talking. They come from next door. And them Spanish and them blow them out. Some of them go back China. I listen to a documentary with them. They're sad. They're talking Spanish, you know. They say they used to be so glad when they're in Venezuela making the money. And that's bolivars there. They used to make money like that. So when they come here now, and our currency higher than that bolivar is mad. Lennox, all you don't know the bacchanal going on with TT Dollar, you know. TT Dollar, they like TT Dollar is who really you know going Guyana and doing business, them Chinese where they blow out over there, right? And it's just a matter of time, right, when people can't take it no more. Because let me tell you something, that same Charlotte Street where they go on greedy on day, every day and night is robbery taking place. I don't know if you right there and you know that because I
What?
don't hear you talking about it.
I'm going to comment after when you finish. I'm giving you a chance to, of course, express
Yeah.
yourself there.
So day to day, I know somebody that sell on Charlotte Street. They're breaking in a place opposite East Side Plaza, a little place. Yeah. Our next place, a Chinese selling pot and little thing, they hands them up inside of there with gun broad daylight and rob them and walk out. When I go in town, and I meet with my people and things, they're telling you all we're breaking. Right through that Charlotte Street, they were camping, man. I tell you, look here. But what I want to say,
Go ahead.
you see them Chinese where they bring all day with foreign exchange going. How the hell them bringing in all them set of goods inside of here? All in Chaguanas, they have big establishment. Up at Rima, all up here. 3-4 branch they have. They selling electronics. We had to get straight about these kind of things. There's too much of talking. We need to protest. They shut down the port workers. They can't protest, right? Other people had to rise up. Activists in the UNC had to rise up with some protest. All right.
I hear you, my friend. Just to touch on that, that would have been a topic of necessity, but later down the road. But it's about choice. Somebody might want to talk about it now, others may want to talk about it later. But it is an issue, not as dangerous, or should I say, as significant as the Spanish because of their numbers. But certainly there is that trend where traditional Chinese that would have established themselves a long time ago, right at the corner here, the corner of George and Prince Street. These Chinese, they have a Chinese restaurant, they no longer functioning because they have been robbed so many times. Up on the other side, on the corner of Prince and Nelson Streets, the fella had to run out a Chinese simply because it was unbearable. Every Monday morning, it appears that they would have, of course, rob him or demand certain things, which of course would have eroded his the profitability and therefore the viability of that business. But Charlotte Street, she's exactly correct. All of that is happening. I would say there is no business on Charlotte Street,
Hello?
Prince Street, etc., that have not been the victim of some kind of robbery episode.
Hello?
But let's go to the lines. Professor, good night. Welcome.
Hello? Good night.
Good night. Good night. Yes.
Oh, you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
I see that Rowley
Yes.
is going to go and attend some big meeting in Guyana.
Yeah, in Guyana, yes. The heads of government with
But I
summit
want to
in
know
Guyana.
if this man is feeling shame, boy. I will tell you why.
Yeah, go ahead.
When this man went to Canada, see if you could remember, Granny, remember, but I listen all your good, I don't get through all the time.
I hear you.
When this man went to Canada, not one Trinidadian who lived in Canada ever come out to see the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. You can remember that?
Yes.
Eh?
Yes, go ahead.
Right. That is the time everybody say that he wears something like a pajama.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, when he went, he had on a sweatsuit to address, of course, official gathering, yeah.
Right. What he say he went to do in Canada, I want all you to remember this good, that he went to Canada to meet the Canadian government to help him solve the crime in Trinidad. Could you remember that?
Yes.
Right. Now the Canadian government in Canada, he is linking with the Khalistani. The Khalistanis,
yes, and those persons who are harassing the Hindus in Canada, yeah.
They call them Sikhs.
Yes, Sikhs, that's right, yes.
And the Sikhs put the name Khalistani because they're bad. Just like how some of the Muslims are say ISIS.
Yes.
So
Beautiful.
Sikhs,
You're well informed. Go ahead.
Khalistan, because they're bad.
Yes.
So the Canadian Prime Minister linking with the Khalistani, which there is Taliban, is not good people. But he went to meet the Canadian government to help his solve crime. Well, the crime gone more right now.
Yes.
Well, the crime gone more right now. So what he really doing? Not one Trinidadian have come out to meet him. So I want to know if he would not feel shame when he reached to Guyana. Because no Trinidadian who live in Guyana will come out there to say that is our Prime Minister from Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes,
I want to know if he won't feel shame. Look at Jamaica.
No. It's about the almighty dollar. It's about power. It's about pretending that somehow he to the public he's doing no wrong, but consciously knowing that he has been devastating to
Jamaica Prime Minister landed in there.
Yes.
If you see greetings, if you see love, if you see things, the Jamaica Prime Minister when he landed in there. When Rowley landed in there, he went to meet, I forget, Ninja, how they call him, the fella to buy the refinery, a man just like he.
That's Jindal.
A cook.
Yes.
President,
just hold on, caller. I have another caller on the line.
He see Ambini Pela Stadium in there.
Yes.
So he got to bed for Ambini to the last stadium free here. Because there are no information coming out for him.
Yeah. That's the one with the cricket stadium. Yeah.
God bless all you. Me and Lucian, no. I telling everybody come out of both camera. I had no fear. I could talk it anyway.
Yes, man. Yes. That's the spirit. That's the spirit.
God bless all the boys. All they are coming out for party. All the boys coming out for country.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yes, indeed. Sorry about that, caller. Go ahead, make your contribution. That's it. This is vibrant.
Nothing wrong with that. Good night, Mr. Smith.
Good night to you.
Yeah. Now, I want to just get your attention to the domino effect that when things happening in the highest office, it has come down to the lowest too. You see what happened with the extortion with the 7 policemen?
I understand. Yeah,
right?
I understand there was some
that in the news, right?
Yeah.
But then
non-presence of main witnesses. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Let me just show what's simply going there. If you are a police officer right now in Trinidad, you feel you wouldn't be aware what's happening in the highest office, that you've seen that people.
I'm a citizen too. So I must be aware.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I ought to be more aware.
Right. I must go against my colleagues who are even getting paid for percent and all kind of thing. You can't even get $1 million if you die in the line of duty, because they haven't given that what Kamala and them decide to give.
Yes.
Right, because the first policeman, police what I get out was I believe it is a police sergeant, a woman who some get killed when the 3 fathers they break out from the jail.
That's right. Yes.
And they went and they killed one by the hospital or something.
That's right. Yeah. And they got one put up on Bath Street.
Right. Yeah. Edmond Dillon said he was going to give that, but then what happened with Edmond Dillon? They remove him and put Stuart Young. And then he run for no office again. Yeah,
but the government, Rowley was saying as well that Kamala didn't leave any policy in place, no procedure to have it, of course, effected But of course, there was no policy either to give, of course, that handsome reward to Coffee to maintain his medical bills. Why? Because they were concerned that they would have lost, of course, La Hokata Talparo, and he was the sitting MP. So only because of the political survivability, Coffee lucky he get that kind of attention. Yeah.
And you remember how they give the union the 15 million when they now come in and they say
that's right, 15 million to them and a company called Grand Bay that the EBC has used after the 2020 general election, and are still saying that even though they have denied it, to of course dispose of electoral material, polling cards, etc. that we saw all over the place. Yeah. Grand Bay.
There you have it. Right, so what I'm saying, right?
Caller, hold on, I have another caller. Yeah, go ahead, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody is being used as tool now.
Yeah.
That I could say right now, even the devil sorry because he are not doing thing what he shouldn't do. He said that person make he do and he hurt in his heart and all. That alone tell you the kind of person we have running this country.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of evil individuals that has no limit, no conscience, unconscionable, and they have no compassion or compunction to do
nothing like that.
To do
nothing like that.
Illegal things to stay in office. Oh, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts, absolutely, boy.
Every independent constitution is being compromised.
Yeah, every office here is compromised, and the individuals in it compromise their own integrity as well.
But I'm gonna tell you something,
Go ahead.
The kind of thing that does even say, like even what Stuart Young say what day about Kamala, right? That Jesus say, I will end on this, that every unprofitable word that you use, you'll be held accountable for it, right? And by that you'll be judged, right? And you'll be judged and you'll be condemned on Judgment Day.
Yes, man. Yes, man. That's an unwritten but spoken law. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Abbas.
Yeah, no problem. Yes, caller, go ahead on the handset. Welcome. Good night. Hello? Are you there? Let me make sure. All right. Okay. Sorry about that. I think I had the mic off. Sorry. All right. Okay. We simply lost that one. Call back caller. My mistake. I had the speaker off, I should say, not the mic. All right. So here we have hypocrisy after hypocrisy. So I was making a point about the Chinese leaving the country, but there is a cadre of them coming into the country that are given what I consider to be favorable treatment. That's the kind of Chinese that Ms. Arima spoke to earlier, but we will deal with that in a little more detail in a separate program. A pleasant good night.
Pleasant good night, Mr. Lennox.
Pleasant good night to you as well, my friend.
And pleasant good night to the right thinking citizen of this beloved country, children.
Yes, indeed.
Mr. Lennox,
hey.
You know, this man, this devil we're dealing with here, you know, he closed down, well, the PNM is devils. The PNM closed down the scrap iron dealer, and it never get back running up to today.
Yeah, and I see they're complaining and they're planning, of course, some kind of protest, another protest, more protest than any other time, any other government.
But Mr.
Never had.
Why I bring up that, right?
Yeah.
Because you realize everything that the black man tried to do honestly under this PNM administration, did I shut it down?
Oh yes,
you
because the profitability is not for you. Yeah.
You remember when we had the Susu and black people wasn't being empowered by the Susu?
Yeah, Susu.
Dr. Rowley went and bringing people from all Grenada to investigate it and shut down the man.
Yeah, Barbados and the UK.
Barbados. Yeah. Thanks for correcting me.
Yes.
Now we go going again. We have now all the debts where we could have get back our money. Malcolm Jones, the Chowdy case, where we could have get back some of our money.
Yeah.
So everything that the black man could have benefit from, this administration led by Dr. Kit Christopher Wicked, bring it down. He mash it up. You remember the Black Caucus?
Mm-hmm.
All that to damage, you know. So I'm saying this to say to tell the people how the Chinese, who they're trying to create as the 2% because the Syrian is the 1%. They're trying to make the Chinese in this country the 2%. The Chinese don't support. Now I'm not attacking Chinese, but they're just showing you what they just do. They don't support anything. They don't hire locals. They don't do anything. They don't give no charity. They don't do anything, especially the country in a crisis right now. They don't do nothing. And them getting places that I see in, they owning places through the association. I wonder if people like me and you could go to China and set up a ghost tree for people to buy in it. And they get it in places where we are English-speaking country, and them in the heart of town with ghost tree, and they can't talk English. Mr. Lennox, under this administration, if people in smell see what is taking place right now, dog it we supper, you know.
Oh yes,
and
oh yes, indeed. And it has started already too.
Yeah, this man want the review commission, if I aim for correction, who reviewing this man's salary. In my book, if I was working in that place, Dr. Rowley due for a decrease in his pay,
of course.
Not an increase.
That's unanimous. Everybody knows that.
Only Dr. Rowley bring this country to its knees, but them seeing he's supposed to he had to get 80-something thousand $1 million back pay. I say no money for none of them, especially him. So I want the public to know he gave them $2 the other day, but he won 34%, and he always want the money on time. He don't want it to slip out. Yeah. What devil we dealing with, boy? I hope on the day of the election, people send them a certain, a critical message to this administration led by Dr. Rowley. The only seats Dr. Rowley supposed to win is the seats that he win that the PNM win in 1986 or something, which is Lavanti. The 3 seats in Lavanti, because they didn't win the seat in San Fernando.
That's right.
It's just Robinson say we get a mandate, right. And they allow money. Because we the PNM lost that seat. So the only 3 seats he's supposed to get is Lavanti East, Lavanti West, and Lavanti South. He's not supposed to get a next seat in this country, and I want the citizens of this country who suffering because they're suffering. But the only thing with PNF people, Mr. Lennox, they just suffer silently. They just suffer and they don't say nothing. But where they don't have a voice, we have Mr. Lennox to make a view on them behalf, and we have me to make a view on them behalf. We are voices for the voiceless. So, Mr. Lennox, I want to thank you for this allowing me to make this contribution, and you have a blessed night, Mr. Lennox.
Same to you, my friend. Same to you, my friend. Of course, a wonderful contribution as per usual. So I think I would pause on the question of the Chinese. And of course get back on the foreign exchange. But before I do that, I want, of course, and if you are listening and you intend to call in and you would have called in, maybe I want you to, of course, make this part of your intervention or your presentation tonight. Notice now that the Rowley administration have been engaged in what I consider to be a plethora and multiple distractions now. It is not sufficient to have one distraction. They engage in multiple distractions and a plethora of distractions. Why? Because they are hard pressed. They don't want anybody to, of course, focus on the whole question of that missing $3 billion. That in any stretch of the imagination, a government ought to resign because they cannot account for the people's money. But this hypocrite and this bunch of rapscallions, these swindlers, and we know where the money has gone based on their conduct. But try, of course, to bring a barrage, one after the other, of distractions. We are going to look at that before, of course, we continue with the foreign exchange extrapolation and Rowley as opposition as opposed to Prime Minister now. And you may well realize there is no difference. But let's go to the lines. President, good night, welcome.
Hey, Lennox.
Yes.
Lennox.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you hear me good?
Loud and clear, my friend.
All right. After listening to Annie Roberts this morning on the Armstrong report,
Yes.
and he talked for you and me talk already.
Right.
Short Chow mentioned any word dragon, he wanted dragon. Dragon.
Yeah.
Because that deal with Venezuela.
Yeah, he tried to be one of them white boys who speak in a particular way and they have a slurred tongue. You know? To show a particular status. That's what he's trying to demonstrate. But go ahead.
You think Shell?
Caller, just hold on. I have another person on the handset. Yeah.
I'm telling you about Shell.
Yes.
Telling them in the parliament, Shell hasn't Shell has yet. We didn't think about you. You think Shell will take a chance to lose their license with Donald Trump in power? And Trump put sanctions on Venezuela? That deal's dead, look. That deal's dead with the gas. You should know that.
Yes.
Yeah, you know gas, you remember properly?
Yeah, but you know, there are people who are set in their fantasy. They will, as they have demonstrated, they will go up until and extract every modicum, every morsel of deception before they have to go silent. When they hear them go silent on the matter, as if it never existed, it's because they have accepted defeat. But until such time, they will talk from now till thy kingdom come. Until, of course, they are faced with reality, as you are saying now. But go ahead.
Yeah. And next thing, there's people who call in on the Gong report and saying that if PNM in the election, they're going away. I see you try to tell them PNM can't win the election.
Of course, I said, that is not a word in my vocabulary, so I cannot associate with that.
And what I want to say also is this. But you must remember the French Revolution, right?
Mm-hmm.
I advocate not there. Only people that run when the time come. A little bit.
Yeah, go ahead. I have a little canine problem inside here, and I'm trying to indicate to them to get rid of those canines. But go ahead.
You know what I'm dog, yeah?
All right, I hear you.
You know I like my dog.
Yeah. But they can't interfere with important human matters of the type that you are discussing tonight. But go ahead.
Right. So, and the people who were out of France was the handful who was controlling everything. And they end up in San Francisco, that Nancy Pelosi place.
Yeah.
And look at how them places have become LENNOX. The next thing I want to talk about, the last thing. A man who can't do his own work, which is once in a land. He decided he's about John in the PLF. He taking on the port workers. That fella, as my mother used to say, he's smelling the alum.
Yeah.
He's smelling himself.
Smelling himself, that's right. Yes. Yeah, that is a common term, yeah.
Yeah, smelling himself. He can't even do his own work. Look at this country. Roadwise and everything because of he. And he want to take on the port workers. That fella put in himself by LENNOX. There are plenty more things we could talk about, but I know you have other callers. Right? You tell them move the dogs and put them aside so you can concentrate on what you're doing.
Yes.
Alright, we go talk.
Okay then. Thank you very much. Yes, for that contribution. Yes, indeed. So I want you to observe the distractions, and I may not identify all, but all coming in one grab, so to speak, in one amalgamated size. You have, of course, the Forex situation, and there are many pronouncements between Rowley and Imsbert about, of course, Forex and the fact that they are not going to devalue, etc. So that's one aspect of it. And then, of course, they have gone to the Parliament and talking about, of course, the Tobago Greater Autonomy Bill. That is another distraction, focus in Tobago. And of course, the parliamentary representatives are up and down in Tobago, attempting, of course, to convince the population whose minds have already been made up. But let's go to the lines one time. We give way to the callers all the time. Professor, good night.
Good night, Lennox. Good night. How are you?
Good night, my friend. How are you feeling today?
Cannot. But I'm feeling worse.
Oh boy. All right.
I went to the bank today, yesterday and today, and they can't tell me where my money gone by.
Oh Lord. Yeah, that's a big blow, boy.
I went to NIS.
Caller, please hold on. I have another person on the line, Mr. Freeport. Go ahead, Mr. Freeport.
NIS give me the check number, the account number, and the date that it went in.
Right.
And First Citizen don't have no record of it.
Wow. Are you treating me
and
that
nobody
way?
can tell me. Nobody can tell me nothing.
How are you treating with that?
Well, I don't know how to treat with it because I have commitments. I've got to pay insurance on my car, all kind of thing.
I could well imagine. I don't know if the ombudsman, if we send a note to the ombudsman to see whether or not he might be able to influence the outcome in a favorable in your favor at this time. That's the only thing I'm seeing off the cuff. Because if the banks, what you say, they have record of in but they don't have of out or something of that, or they don't have a record at all.
NIS give me all the record, the check number, the bank number that they sent it to.
Right.
And the date. It went in since the 7th this month.
Right.
And the bank
but did you go to the
record.
bank? Did you go to the bank? Because I think you did mention something of somebody might have stolen your card who may have
we get
a knowledge of your PIN number, and they may have done the damage that you are now
we did
with
all
us.
that.
Yeah.
We did all that. I went by NIS. I went by social welfare. I take the 2 letters to the bank, get it stamped, and bring it back. So everything up to date.
So why the money is not in your account?
Well, nobody can tell me that.
Well, if nobody can tell you that, it means therefore we need to put some fire under the various institutions to give us something formal, and then bring in the blasted police.
Well, something had to be done.
Yeah, bring in the police.
Because as a token, it's not me alone it happening to, you know.
I would imagine that. I mean, and yours is a discovery that has fallen on fertile ground, in the sense that we are committed to pursuing situations like this, where you jeopardize an individual at somebody's for somebody's enjoyment of what you should be enjoying and have worked hard for, and now you are in jeopardy now. So there's a need for some kind of affirmative action in putting some fire under the various statutory institutions that are supposed to be involved in securing your interests. The banks, NIS, etc., etc.
Yes.
All right. So maybe after the program tomorrow, I'll ask you to WhatsApp me some information, and we'll see how we can put something together. But let me sleep on it now.
Okay.
All right, because there's a need to treat with this, because it means therefore if we act on this, we could save others and prevent
Yes.
some
Yes.
from, of course, getting a total meltdown as you have as a consequence of that dastard act. We had to say that now, dastard act by some, what I consider to be not just unscrupulous, but criminal-minded person. Or
You
persons.
could remember you could remember the guy who did drive we are wrong with the van?
Yeah.
His uncle they can't give him account for $6,000.
Oh wow. Oh, so you did do some checking around. All right.
Yes.
Good. All right. That will come in handy. That will be useful as we move forward.
I didn't get to go and get the invoice, boy, because yesterday and today I was running around here.
Okay. Yeah, that will take around, and you're not that mobile as most people as you used to be. Don't pay that way.
When you go in this place, you have to sit down long then to get to attended to.
Yeah.
It had nothing like priority and whatever. And the people and them seen that you was in there more than one day, and they know what you're coming to say about.
Wow.
And they're not interested.
All right.
So you take care.
Yes. Thanks very much for calling and giving us an update. All right. Let's go straight to this one now. Sorry about that, Mr. Faizabad, but you know, Mr. Freeport is in a state, so we want to try to make sure that we could verbally talk him out of anything that he may do to harm himself, and to tell him that there are people still here who would be rooting for him. But a pleasant good night, so go ahead.
A pleasant good night to you, Mr. Lennox, and all the listeners,
Yes.
and to share. And let's share the life, and let's be a part of real unity and come together in sending a message. Mr. Lennox,
Hey.
Before I get brutal with you, I would like to be in a subtle mood to tell you something. Why is you apologizing to me? I see you I hear you on the phone. I hang up. I give way. You don't have to apologize to me because it's present issues. And this is what the show is about.
Yes.
The show is about helping and making life better for the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, yeah.
And that is why I didn't hold the line. I come off the line.
Okay.
And I give way. Because Mr. Freeport, no matter what, he is a citizen and he needs his help. And those are things without checks and balances going towards these institutions. A lot of money is being displaced because a lot of senior citizens don't know how to check on our account and through a card to know how the money is being withdrawn. And it is a serious issue across the board.
Yeah.
So now I wouldn't be changing your show program, but just to justify the listeners to be our brother keepers. Because when a senior citizen, remember they had changed it back now, at a certain level of money, then you could go to the bank and get it. But others, you have to get a card. And you see the reason why? So they can say they deposited and it never reached.
Yeah.
Because now, the senior citizens on them, they may know, but not the amount they're supposed to know.
Yeah.
So on that way, I will take my contribution forward now.
All right.
Because when Mark Luquan went to the bank with a piece of paper, he get his money.
Mm.
And Alison, due diligence, get some money to form a business.
Mm.
And when they form a business, they form it on paper and they get cash, liquid, solid cash in US.
Yeah.
And that is over $400 million US.
Yeah.
So when Rowley come to talk in Parliament and he didn't know what the Lord said, and he didn't see the launch any investigation, or they must have an investigation. And then he come with a new WASA CEO of 100,000 perks to say that $2.7 billion, $3 billion TT dollars disappear in mid-air, boof, with a glitch. And then just before that, $700 million disappear from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund harshly and quietly. A silent night, holy night. So when you see that a board of NGC have $235 million in wrongdoing and ask the government of the day, I want anonymity, indemnity to be free from charges and investigation, and they split them up like peppercorn all over the place, and they let them go. Now we see Mark Lukwan is paying the price, the ultimate price for wickedness. Just imagine a company that the UNC buy to bring revenue to this country. They drain it, they suck it, they dry it, and they rub the citizens on the IPO, the money and the dividend. Those children want to say, and as I tell you, can say the company makes some money. So the diversion of all of these things is imminent, because we had to go from, since the pedophile ring report still on the desk in front of Keith Rowley office, he make it public, and then it have this next one who was a credit union, and he had some shady deals in a credit union, and then he take a big time lawyer to make it hush hush.
It's a silence the rest of us.
And then you see that NHA whole property is being converted into commercial
good night,
premises.
Just hold on, I have another person on another line.
Hello?
So when you have...
good night, just hold on, I have another person. They're finishing up now. Go ahead, ahead, Mr. Faizabat.
So when you have NHA property being turned into commercial, and now this salary review committee, now I want to ask teachers and all the public servants, all they take all the money, if all they take your money, all they give any money, all they send them home. Now all they're supposed to be saying no.
That's
you
right.
Get their money already.
Send them to hell home, yes.
Yeah.
And hell is the operating word. Send them to hell home, or put another way, send him to hell, which is his home.
Right? And the nice thing about it, the pensioners at Petrotrin is suffering for the medical and the money. It will run out just now.
Yes.
So people, we have visiting the EDC to make sure that we have a fair general election in the 2025 general election. So all you know what time it is and let me come out. Because as I say, the senior citizen is the poorest set now. Have a nice night.
Yes, man. Free and free from fear. Thank you very much, of course. Let's go straight, of course. I think is Jamaica is on the line. A pleasant good night.
Hello, good evening.
Pleasant good night. Yes.
Man.
Good evening to you.
Man, yeah, man. Good evening to you. I am from Trinidad, man.
Yes, man.
Yeah, we're looking at a matter. Tonight, our present focus is on the prison system.
Okay.
So wanted to look at a case called Attorney General versus Charles.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know that Mr. Charles was accused, charged with murder, not offered bail, spent over 8 years in custody, and has no case to answer.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to look at person who has been lost in the prison system against conviction and disclosure and rehabilitation.
Yes. Yes. Let me ask you something. Are you aware as to whether or not there is bail for murder? Because the Privy Council did, and I know that the Jamaica will be subjected, of course, to that jurisprudence and that jurisdiction as well. I don't know if in Jamaica bail can be acquired for persons on a murder charge. Is that, from your knowledge, is that so or not? Because it is now so here in Trinidad. Hello? Oh boy, you seem to always have this communication problem with our Jamaican friend. I'm sure that he would have heard me. I hope that his line wasn't so distorted that he would not have been able to hear my question. But he may have to call back because I'm not seeing signs of a live communication with him. But that is what I wanted. And of course, whilst we are at it, of course, I wanted to share it with the population that he did send me some material on wholeness, the Prime Minister there. And I think the court matter would have been heard, I believe, yesterday. And I would have loved, of course, to hear what transpired then. I trust that when I check in my mailbox, I should get some information as to what transpired. I must confess I did not look at it last night, but certainly getting it from the horse's mouth by a direct conversation with him, I'm sure would have done volumes. Let's see what is happening here. All right, we'll have to close off that, and let's go straight, of course, to the answer. A pleasant good night. Oh boy, he's calling back now. All right, I do. All right, let me take Mr. Jamaica because he was on before. Caller, you'll have to hold on. Caller, you have to hold on. Let me just get Mr. Jamaica back on now. Oh boy, we have lost him again. Mr. Jamaica, yep. Are you there? All right, good. Okay, good.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, man, I was hearing your question. The line did still open. It never cut off. I was hearing your question.
I was asking whether or not there is bail for murder in Jamaica, because it is a bailable offense in Trinidad now. Of course, with certain complications, you have to apply to a judge in chamber, and the judge has to, of course, examine the circumstances, and then of course you may or may not get it. But is there an option for prisoners, or should I say persons charged with murder in Jamaica?
Charged with offense of murder. Accused, charged with an offense of murder.
So
yeah, man, you're always entitled to bail. No?
Oh, okay. Well, look at that. That is a recent phenomenon in Trinidad, a recent development in Trinidad. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I know that the case from Attorney General versus Charles.
Charles, okay. Oh yes, that Charles case. Yeah, you're quite right. I thought it was a Jamaican case you were talking about. Yeah, that's a Trinidad case. Yes. All right, go ahead. So you were making a point. Oh boy, we lost him again, people. Boy. I pay particular attention to our CARICOM colleagues, our Caribbean colleagues, because it's important, of course, that we share, and by sharing, we are able to improve our own circumstance, because they may be engaged in a system or a process that we can adopt here and make life a little easier here in Trinidad, and vice versa. Of course, we may have. Right, go ahead, Mr. Jamaica. Yes.
Yeah, man. Man. You're not last me come here, still I hear your conversation.
All right.
But as I was saying, that you're entitled to bail, man, only if there are certain circumstances you might deprive of bail. If you're a flight risk, if you have involved in the investigation, those are the circumstances where you will be denied bail.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to look at the case Attorney General versus Charles, the AG Chamber versus Charles.
All right, go ahead.
He had spent 8 years in custody and no case to answer.
Yes.
So is it much case like that coming up in the system?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. A lot of that, but many of them are so glad to be freed that they do not take advantage of the options that they would have had to, of course, seek redress in the civil court, such as, of course, false imprisonment, cruel
malicious prosecution,
right, and cruel and, of course, obscene punishment. I use my term, Yeah. So yes, we have quite a lot of that happening in Trinidad. Too much to not be concerned. In fact, as a consequence of that, there is a piece of legislation recently passed where, of course, the courts have, well, the law caused the bypassing of preliminary inquiries before a matter could reach the High Court in very serious matters. So you bypass and you go straight to the High Court one time, and you have a number of other judges. They give them a different name, and you have a hearing to see whether or not there is validity, all in an effort to try to, of course, reduce the amount of backlog that is in the Trinidad and Tobago judicial system that is threatening to cripple it and making it dysfunctional. So people who may be on a particular criminal charge, they can go out there and continue their crime and may be charged again, and still the first matter may not be dispensed with. But of course, some people say they go out there looking for money to deal with the first one or the second one, as the case may be, and of course clog the system. So you have this recidivism taking place that, of course, is not healthy, and it's not a good security mechanism for the population. And in fact, I want to tell you as well that the amount of murders under this administration, in successive years, you have been increasing, breaking of the previous years murder toll, but all of which have been records, one after the next. That is the state of play in Trinidad and Tobago as far as the crime front is concerned. Of course, the police are doing their utmost. They are threatening, but of course, talk is useless when action is required. And of course, as it is said, an ounce of action is better than a pound of talk. And of course, the situation continues to deteriorate across the board, including the accusation or the should I say the instatement of our Commissioner of Police. We just had a situation where we believe that the Prime Minister and his intervention is so egregious that it requires, of course, a criminal investigation. But of course, prime ministers, maybe in the Caribbean, believe that they are above the law, and therefore, of course, we have to wait until he's voted out of office, he and his party, before, of course, as we say in Trinidad and Tobago, according to his cliche, blue lights and silver braces, meaning that court, jail, court, trial, and jail. That is what that blue lights and silver braces means. Yeah. So that is where we are with respect, of course, to these matters.
We are going to look at the matter of rehabilitation now.
Right.
Because rehabilitation comes with conviction, and the prison system have two responsibilities. One is to separate and punish and rehabilitate and reintroduce. So we'll look at the side where we are going to reintroduce people back into the society. Is there the reintroduces process, how it looks from your angle? It seems as if when a person has been convicted for an offense, they have been reintroduced into society and come out back as a wholesome person based on they had a program where is different from the normal penal system where people can go and reintroduce, learn skills or stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, let me put it this way. It depends on the individual. I say so because we have too many instances where recidivism becomes the order of the day, even though we have a situation, because recidivism by its nature means that if you have 10 persons committing crime, the same 10 in numbers you'll be seeing in and out of the system. Unfortunately, in the context of Trinidad, even though of course there is a school of thought by the prison authorities and by the police authority and even by the government, what we are seeing, of course, is a swelling of land. So 10 may become 20, 20 may become 30, and they are still talking about recidivism. I mean, that is a asinine assessment as to, or put another way, a misunderstanding of what recidivism is. Having regard to that, and you talk about reintroduction, well, I want to tell you that once again, it's because it depends on the individual. The individual may be exposed to maybe some religious indoctrination. They may be have some kind of special attention or focus that they would have gotten in prison. Yes, they have situations where people have sat or taken the CXC exams, for example, prepared there and take it, and of course would have been successful. But that is a few and sparring in nature. In other words, that is the exception, and that is the unfortunate situation in Trinidad and Tobago. There is a school of thought too that where you are in remand, remember, of course, we have a system where you are innocent until proven guilty, so you are in remand.
Yeah.
But remand has become in Trinidad a sort of a spawning ground for more what I consider to be devious criminals, because when they get in there, stay a long time, no bail, meet, of course, with others who are hardened criminals, those that may be excited and were not as deep in the criminal behavior as they went in, will now, of course, become hardened criminal and join, of course, the ranks of the criminal, what I consider to be elements in the wider society, creating, of course, further problems for law enforcement and for peace and security in the society. As far as the actual convicted individuals, they would have, of course, gone into a separate system where they may or may not be exposed to, of course, some rehabilitatory work or whether it be academic, whether it be skill, whether it be utilizing their hands, whether it be just simply discipline. And of course, they spend their time, they come out, and then of course they are reintroduced into the society in no special way. So if you have time to leave, you just take a car from outside the prison and go away. No special arrangement where they send you to a place to work, for example, as you have in other jurisdictions. You don't have that at all.
When some
go ahead.
Man. Hello? Yeah, I was looking at the matter of rehabilitation.
All right.
When some you hearing me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Should someone convicted of a criminal offense and consider be rehabilitated, should all conviction capable of expunge from their criminal record, and should some jobs be out of reach of you if you are convicted and no matter how long ago?
Well, there's a mercy committee that is enshrined in law here, where people can apply with the appropriate recommendations and so on. But generally, that is not expunged automatically, so that the society is not yet ready or has not yet shown any kind of sympathy for such individuals, and therefore opportunity for work, opportunity for socializing, opportunity for even getting a woman or a man, in the case of a woman who might have been in prison. That is a situation where the society has not yet been mature enough to accept that that person has done its duty to society, meaning that it served its time, he or she served its time and their time, and therefore should be considered rehabilitated. No, adjusting back into society is an arduous task, and the society is not that forgiving. And I suppose that I'm sure would have contributed to people gravitating further after coming out and serving time to a further life of crime.
Yeah, under our Criminal Records and Rehabilitation Act, we have some types of conviction we now go get for expunge, like drugs trafficking, arms trafficking, rape. Those are not going to expunge.
But simple thing like a simple assault.
Simple assault. Those things.
Maybe you didn't pay what we call a cock tax, which is of course is really actually alimony and things like that. you should be expunged. Well, that is not the case in Trinidad.
I am going to. Yeah.
That connection,
Hello?
boy. Yeah, go ahead. That connection, boy. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, man, me understand, man. Me understand.
Yes. All right.
Should there be a limitation on the offense? Should there be a limitation on offense?
In terms of what the amount of times, and therefore you up the ante.
Yeah.
What? Well, I think the courts are well, geared, because one of the things that happens, especially on sentencing, the police, well, I should say, the criminal record of the individual is sought by the court here to determine the extent to which, or the frequency with which such an individual either commits that offense or commit other offenses that are distinct from the one before, and the adjudicating entity will then, of course, use their discretion in the circumstance. I suppose it's not a question of one fit for all, but it's a question of course, based on circumstance.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that a conviction so long ago should not held against the person.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
My view is that, except of course where it is extremely heinous, some of which you mentioned earlier, and I think the population in Trinidad are well attuned to that. We have accepted that, but I think one should pass through the system, the society at large, have a phobia for such an individual, and treat them differently to if they did not pass through the system. And even though a person may be well adjusted, adapted, and rehabilitated, which of course is unfortunate, but that is the reality of Trinidad and Tobago today.
Yeah, man. All right, then I'm gonna run. Tomorrow we're going to talk about reparation.
Reparation. Yeah, well, of course, that was not on the agenda. They make sure and expunge it from the agenda of the Commonwealth heads of government meeting in Samoa recently in the Pacific there. But of course, it is a live issue in Trinidad. I am part.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I am part of the, but not on the question of slavery, but I am a member of the Shouter Baptist community that has been discriminated against and legislated against in terms of worshiping, and we believe that some kind of reparation should be given to the Shouter Baptist community, but on a wider scale, as far as the slave trade is concerned, I think CARICOM has been, of course, looking at that matter.
Man, I know that.
Ralph Gonzalez, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, have been spearheading that initiative, but unfortunately it appears that the former, should I say, colonialists in Europe don't want to have anything to do with it, because they're saying it's so long ago, one, and two, of course, what form that that compensation, if you want to call that, what form it should take. All of that are considerations. So they say it's too complex. They prefer to pretend it never happened, and of course go ahead. But of course, in the Caribbean, I think we have a duty to our ancestors who were brought here as slaves to, of course, seek some kind of some kind of compensation.
Yeah. So tomorrow we are going to look at reparation. Understand?
All right. Okay, my friend. Thank you, because I'm sure people in Trinidad are saying, well, wow, this man, I've given this man a lot of time, but you are our CARICOM friend and in the north there, and it's rare that we have an opportunity to engage, and I think I should give you a little more leeway than locals or even foreigners outside of the Caribbean. Yeah. All right. So thank you very much. Yes.
Thanks so much. Yes, please.
Yes. Okay then. Cool. All right. Yeah. So please tell a friend, of course, and share in Jamaica and anywhere in the Caribbean. Share that you are listening to us, and of course hearing the healthy conversation. And I will, as a matter of course, tell you one time if I get a Grenadian as Vincentian, I will be giving you a little more time than I would normally give locals and or foreigners in the diaspora, whether it's be in North America, Europe, etc. Simply because we have to find a mechanism to communicate with each other. Separation by water does not mean that we are not of the same region, have the same experiences, and may have solutions that we could share with each other in order to make life better here, of course, in the place we call the Caribbean, and of course in the Western Hemisphere. Right, so let me continue, of course, with Dr. Rowley and what he had to say as opposition leader on the question of Forex when he was. And I want you to pay particular attention to what he is saying, because what he was saying then as opposition leader has implication to what he is doing now as Prime Minister. It's amazing. The parallel is and are astonishing.
An area of high skill requires certain temperament, and it...
Yeah, all right, okay. I'll have to pause once again. We have another caller. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Western Hemisphere. Right, so let me continue, of course, with Dr. Rowley and what he had to say as opposition leader on the question of Forex when he was. And I want to...
Yeah, caller, go ahead. I hear myself.
My suggestion...
You have to take off. You'll have to lower the volume on your device. Because I'm hearing what I just said. And take over the mic, man. Take over the mic. Get closer to the mic.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Talk a little louder.
Hear me now?
Go ahead, caller. Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. But talk a little louder, please. That's all.
My suggestion to make this election more excited is to let Jack Warner fight Rowley's seat. Let Jack Warner.
That's a very good suggestion, but I'm going to push for that. That sounds like a challenge of.
I think that will be a
supreme
very
nature. Yeah, the battle.
That will be very
the battle
exciting.
of the giants.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I think, yeah. I'm going to push that. I'm going to talk about it on the ground report tomorrow, and I'm going to, of course, try to sway those who are to make the ultimate decision to see whether or not they will, of course, adhere or accede to that suggestion. I think that's a great one.
I think that's a great suggestion.
Yeah. Let Rowley understand that he's not what he thinks he is. A fellow who, of course, totally is out of control, is less than what he thinks he is, and a total rapscallion of extreme proportion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good night. I enjoy
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that intervention and that suggestion in the process. Let's get back to Dr. Rowley and, of course, his position as opposition leader before the 2015 general elections on the question of foreign exchange in Trinidad and Tobago, and, of course, criticizing the then Kamala Persad-Bissessar People's Partnership Administration.
Ought not to be a political football as it was being made at the time. Today, many of you go into the banks. You can't get, I heard this morning from one station, somebody went to get $15 to pay a bill in a bank in Trinidad and Tobago, and the bank told them they could not get it. Many of you have children abroad, you have to pay their upkeep and their bills. You go to the bank, you can't get US dollars. There's a raging black market going on in Trinidad and Tobago today, because if you want the US dollars and somebody has it, you have to pay what they're asking for it to get it. You the householder, you the small business owner, you the medium business owner, we the country, we can have a supply of US dollars or whatever you need to conduct your business. Two largest banks with the largest customer base don't have enough foreign exchange for their customers. So immediately a crisis develops, because the customers will come to their banks and their banks can't satisfy their need. Yesterday morning I saw on television one of our favorite business, one of our biggest business houses, supplying medicine to the hospitals. Medicine to the hospitals. They are required to pay $2 million US to bring in a batch of medicine for the hospitals from the various agents that they deal with abroad. They could only have raised $100,000.
People, of course, you would think that this is Dr. Rowley as Prime Minister, current, existential. No. That was when he was opposition leader. So it appears that he was predicting what we are experiencing now. He being, of course, a Prime Minister, he was opposition leader then, just in case you just joined us. But let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night, welcome.
LENNOX.
Hey.
Why you keep playing this buffoon all the time, boy? This man is a waste. A total. He always coming out to talk a pack of rubbish and blame the public after for everything. But he damn well know who is in charge of all this Forex and all this other thing. They have a lot of illegal thing going on because these Chinese businessmen and all these other individuals running a sort of racket all about the place with this illegal playway and all this other thing, and they just take US money too and sell it over. Yeah, you know that? What is the government doing with all these illegal things that are going on? Right under the nose and Port of Spain there. Yeah? A sort of corruption all over the place.
But the point is that he criticized the UNC along those lines. Today in the parliament and elsewhere, he is saying that, of course, that there is not sufficient to go around, etc. So he understood where the depletion. But the point I am making here, why I'm playing this, is not to indicate that he knew and he understood and he experienced that when he was in opposition, but to say that he met over 10 billion US dollars in reserve, and today is only 5 billion. That's the point I am making, and therefore he was again exaggerating the situation when he was opposition leader. That clearly did not exist because the country had sufficient foreign exchange as far as the health of the connecting it to the health of the economy is concerned for over 12 months of import. That is the international benchmark to show. But right now you only have about five. If you have 6 months, you have 6 months, you have plenty. Yeah. But go ahead, my friend.
And LENNOX, he would never say it's because of the closure of Petrotrin that caused all this.
No, he would never say that. No,
and he had to find $20 million a month to buy fuel for this country.
US,
he had to get it from somewhere.
US,
abracadabra and get it, right?
Yeah.
And you're telling all you see how they're talking. They want to blame the small man. I tell you, they're coming with something to curtail small man from buying anything online or anything purchasing with US, I know.
Yeah.
I'm telling all you that is you and me getting the jamming, not the conglomerates. Why you shut down all them car industry that importing us that unneedful cars into this country and causing us sort of trouble in this place with that sort of importation that we don't need. Yeah? Listen, them have to go, LENNOX. It's a waste.
Of course.
But I'm glad everything going up so that the people go feel the pinch for this year. Let them feel it. Everybody had a band in belly, but they have to feel it. Let them know what it feel like.
Yeah, they have to know fire burns. And you have to be a damn fool to push your hand in fire to test whether or not it burns. Well, this is what they are getting. A bunch of rapscallions, opportunistic political parasites who have amalgamated into a cesspool of incompetence and impotence. Go ahead.
And don't let everybody fool all here with this SRC report. That is just a blasted distraction.
Beautiful, man. Well done, man. I like that. Yes.
Distraction.
That's right. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. They have it in. Yes. They have it in bevy now. A bevy of distractions. Right? But there's one thing.
Distracted by the foolish talk.
Yes.
You understand? And the population should know that. Yes. Every time something come up, it's some kind of thing coming out from someone. Me studying here and he wastes our time himself with money and all that.
Yeah, he wants to focus on that and pretend that he is concerned. A bunch of, I should say, engaging in theatrics and histrionics right through is a game for them.
He's the ostrich. He hiding his head in the sand and he backside up in my face.
I don't, whether he hide the whole body in the sand or he remain above the sand, the man is a scamp. He's a swindler. He can't escape that. All right, my friend, go ahead. Thanks. That's it? Yeah, okay. Right, good. So let's continue, people. Again, Rowley, when he was opposition leader, I don't want you for one moment to think, well, listen, that is what is happening today, and therefore he's making a confession. No. He was, whether advertently or inadvertently, predicting how his administration will manage the affairs of the country and the consequence of that in the context of foreign exchange. Listen to this. Let's continue.
You know what that means? It means that there'll be a short supply of drugs in the hospitals. And if you don't have them in the hospitals, it means that people like me and you will die. Because those who have the means will fly out and get the treatment outside or go to the private hospitals. But John Public, who rely on the public hospitals, would never know that the supplier wanted $2 million to bring in the medication and only got $100,000.
Yes, people, of course, you know, I am laughing because I am saturated, of course, with the level of hilariousness that this man could evoke from one man. Now, he has the audacity to tell us that putting himself as an ordinary person in this country, one, and saying people like you and I, when they can't get foreign exchange to bring in medication in the country, only those with the means can fly out and get the medication, but of course you will have to stay here, suffer and die. And he put himself in that. Well, people, since he came in to the windfall, that is the office of Prime Minister, how many times he went outside to, of course, seek medical attention? And the time when he sought medical attention here in Trinidad, it was, of course, at one of the private institutions that you pay big money for, but more than that, it was only because it was an emergency that if flying was an option, it would have been a challenge to, of course, his medical condition. That is why he didn't go out. But all of his planned checkups have been outside. What the hell he talking about? What the hell he talking about? So that is why I had the series stating that Rowley and they planned this thing from the beginning to hoodwink, deceive, and then generate the con job and raid the treasury of the country as they have done over the last 9 years or so far, and will continue so to do, believing that all of us are damn fools in this country and that they will not pay the price. I say to them, blue lights and silver bracelets await and are beckon.
And then the governor has the unmitigated gall when this problem arises and we point it to you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, to accuse us of playing politics. Well, tonight I want to say to the governor of the central bank, if your job is playing politics, our job is informing the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
So when the UNC now inform the population that they play the fool with foreign exchange, that the oil refinery ought not to have closed down because it was a net earner of foreign exchange, and that, of course, the windfall that they got because of the war between Ukraine and Russia, and the fact that if the oil refinery was operating, we would have been bathing in foreign exchange today, and the fact that they have not been able, of course, to secure those dragon deals and all the other things that they told us that they would be engaged in. Today, the opposition mustn't talk that because it go be politics. But when he was in opposition, he understood it was politics and decided, of course, he must disclose because that is his job and responsibility. Just as it is the job and responsibility for Kamala Prasad Mitsesa and the UNC today in this, what I consider the awful dispensation of a rowdy, wicked, diabolical administration. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night to you, Lennox, and to everybody out there. Lennox, I see we had a visitor tonight. And you know we give way to our visitors.
Yes.
You understand? It was really, really nice hearing, you know.
Our Jamaican, colleague, yes.
Yes, it was really nice. Lennox, let me tell you something, eh? When PNM is in opposition, they are not patriots. But when they are in office, they know about patriotism.
and
right?
That's the only time. And targeting others as unpatriotic.
Right.
But them bold
That's
face,
the
boy.
only time you'll say about patriotism and patriotism. And Lennox, if lying was a heat in the Olympics, it's only gold medal Rowley getting. Because
Obviously.
that man could lie.
Yeah.
That man could. I don't know. I think, no, you know what? I think he grew up on lies, so he can't help it now.
Oh, yeah.
Instead
It's
of now,
yeah, he has a psychological problem.
Now,
Yeah, mental.
Now he's in the departure lounge, and instead of he stop lying and try to get nearer to God, the man is still lying.
Yeah.
Like the man
he's
don't
unhinged.
know any other language.
He's unhinged
but
now.
Lying.
Yeah, he's unhinged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see what happened to him, Lennox? He knows very well that his time in office is getting shorter and shorter.
That's right.
Right? And he feels because people are coming out and protesting and thinking about him, but they're just waiting for him. And he knows it. And that is why he's doing all kind of distraction now.
Yeah.
You understand? To turn people away from what it is that you know, for him not leave me here now, give me another chance now, and all this sort of nonsense. And as Anil rightly said this morning, Lennox, that salary reviews commission, what they put out here is a distraction to take away from what it is going on. But we will never forget. We can't wait for when they ring that bell.
Thank you very much
Lennox,
for responding to my call.
Take care and have a good night.
Yes,
yeah,
thank you
later.
very much. Yes. Thank you very much. That was, of course, our Santa Cruz. Ms. Santa Cruz, of course, our external correspondent, responding, of course, to my call wherever you hear any one or several of the multiple distractions that are now, of course, bombarding or emanating from Balize House. Let us know so we identify it as what it is. Whilst, of course, we remain laser focused on, of course, the $2 billion and counting that has not been accounted for, and the devastation that the Rowley administration has brought to Trinidad and Tobago economically, physically, psychologically, and otherwise. So we will not be distracted by that attempt at multiple distractions. Let's continue, of course, to hear Dr. Rowley when he was in opposition about the foreign exchange scenario.
Today, there are many business houses in the country who cannot service their needs, has created instability and a lack of confidence. People are going to lose their jobs or lose their businesses. And once the black market begins to grow, it's like a cancer. It never goes away. Because right now, whereas before in the period of stability, persons would have gone, if they have US dollars, they put it in the bank. But because you can't get out of the bank, those who have US dollars not putting it in the bank, and it's a downward spiral of availability of money. And all of that is destroying the economic potential. If you want to travel, you have to go to the bank now with your ticket and your itinerary. And if you're lucky, they will give you a couple $100 US. That is what is going on. And they tell you, there's no problem. There's no problem. The country has $10 billion. We were never questioning that we don't have money. What we're questioning is how you're managing the supply of money into the system.
Let's play that again.
That is what is going on. And they tell you, there's no problem. There's no problem. The country has $10 billion. We were never questioning that we don't have money. You have to go to the bank now with your ticket and your itinerary. And if you're lucky, they will give you a couple $100 US. That is what is going on. And they tell you, there's no problem. There's no problem. The country has $10 billion. We were never questioning that we don't have money.
So, what were you questioning then, Dr. Rowley? What were you questioning? Why the argument? Because you see, today, people, that was then in 2020. Notice he commingles as part of his semantics. Yeah, as part of his attempt to deceive, he commingles what is present, and then he gives you a futuristic scenario. You saw that, of course, just now, when, of course, he wanted to, or demonstrated the repercussions of a foreign exchange shortage, and extended it, of course, towards what? As far as unemployment, because of the lack of foreign exchange. But he went on to admit that the UNC and Kamala Prasad Business Administration said, we don't have a problem then. So clearly we have to question what the examples that he gave, like he knows somebody who went for $15 and so on. I say to you, Rowley, you lied then. You lied. Because it cannot be that you know somebody who went for $15. He said $15, you know, and they couldn't get it. And another big businessman, no name, had a big shipment of medicine to bring in and could only get $1,000 thereabout. He does lie so much that I refuse, of course, to remember with any specificity the damn nonsense that this man is engaged in. A spontaneous liar. We know that. Because you see, it is not congruent. It is not commensurate with the statement that if they tell you that we have $10 billion in reserve, and you have no doubt about it, you ain't questioning that. So how the hell you could say on the one hand that we have money because the 10 billion is there, you're not questioning that, but yet still you say that people can't get $15 US in the banks under Kamala Prasad business. I say you're damn lie. So let us, of course, engage in retroactive lies. Yes, people, that's what we have to do. Because we know that contemporarily, in the existential situation, in the present situation, the man is a total and absolute and consummate, habitual and spontaneous liar. So why, if he is that now, having regard to the plethora of lies that he would have, of course, have delivered it to the people, he wasn't lying then? Well, I want to tell you that if you believe that he wasn't lying about those examples that he gave, he know people with $15 US went to the bank and didn't get. Well, I want to tell you, you have to be living in a fool's paradise to not to understand, and you have to explain to me if it is that you want to believe the nonsense that he was talking then, the lies that he was exhibiting then you have to tell me whether or not the emails and the circumstances surrounding it were true. You have to tell me that. So it was from the beginning, he was blasted, lying and concocting, and he has a bottomless pit of misinformation, disinformation. His mendaciousness knows no limit. And therefore, what he was saying as opposition was another wrong or another episode of his lies against Kamala Prasad Bisasa and the UNC in terms of the paucity of foreign exchange then. It's clear. Because you cannot then tell me that they say it had 10 billion and you in doubting that. But how the hell people could not get $15 US under Kamala Prasad Bisasa? Hold your tail. Hold your tail. And there's more people. Let's go. There's more.
What we're questioning is how you're managing the supply of money into the system. There has been an accelerated leak of foreign exchange out of the country. Because you see, to solve the problem that they created, they now have to keep pumping money into the system. But because people have lost confidence in the system, the money comes in the system and is now hoarded. So to avert the crisis, they got to keep pumping more money into the system. And that money that leaks out of the system is not going to stay in Trinidad. It will find its way outside of Trinidad and Tobago.
What he was saying then is exactly what is happening today. But again, to show his convolutedness and his disjointed arguments, there is no continuity, there is no smooth flow of the arguments, because you just introduced the question of accepting that there was $10 billion US in reserves, and today is about $5 billion, and I say closer to $4 billion. Who is closer to the IMF or closer to economic disaster and ruin than your administration, as opposed to Kamala Prasad-Bisesa? And in fact, people, let me say up front, one time it was this rapscallion, it was this beast in human form that told us, when the question was asked whether or not people are better off under today under a Rowley PNM administration as opposed to Kamala Prasad-Bisesa administration and UNC between 2010 and 2015. He, Rowley, was the first to jump up on board, but the Lord moves in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. And the Greeks say, listen, when a man is on his dying bed, this time politically, of course, or who the gods wish to destroy, they first send them mad. Well, that is what is happening to this fella from day one. So let us not waste time. So he lied. He lied. $15 what? It's impossible. Having regard to the acceptance of that 10 billion, today is 5 or 4 billion. And you don't understand that your cuckoo is cooked and that your grass is grass.
It's very simple. You get a bucket, you put a hole in the bucket and you put a hose in the bucket. The hose can pump all night. The bucket is not going to be full.
And that is what is happening to our foreign exchange today. They have mismanaged it, and therefore it's like a hose in a perforated or a strainer bucket. You could put too much water you want, it will never full. Well, that is Rowley today.
So we are now in danger of losing significant amount of foreign exchange, create a confidence crisis, and the supply of foreign exchange is now a big headache. But what does the government tell you? The government tells you, it's all right. There's no problem. There's no problem. But this will continue until...
Yes, and Kamala, they had a right to do that because there were 10 billion in reserve. Full stop. Let us not move away from that, otherwise we'll be self-deflecting and of course playing it into the hands of these so-called deflector gurus or exponents. A pleasant good night, welcome.
Hey, LENNOX.
Hey.
Last call, you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, my friend.
You know, I always ask myself,
yeah,
how come during COVID, when Cameron made them UK with the Heritage and Civilization Fund, how did they put across that they have to be on top of every cent that they're going to take out? That's why all this thing when they start to take all this money. They had a right to be on top of the situation.
No, they had to go to Parliament to ask.
So they allowed them to keep all this money. You remember you asked me to be exposed.
I understand where you're coming from. I understand where you're coming from. When you finish, I'll explain. I'll explain the situation with that.
You remember when between you and me
yeah.
the public how much $1 billion is?
Yes.
But you must come and say next morning.
Yeah.
So we only spent $360,000.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what they accounted for publicly. And then telling us I said a hogwash.
And yet all the money done
Just so. It finished. And the people didn't get what the money was intended to deliver, including hampers hampers, compensation for loss of jobs, and compensation for loss of business. All of that we made in the but we are going. I am still pursuing it. I'm still pursuing it through the Freedom of Information Act. Them fellas ain't getting away with that. Yeah.
I'm going to see you where you have to see.
Yes, man. Yes. Listen. The scenario that caused Rowley and they to dip into the Heritage and Civilization Fund and take out monies that we still are unaware as to how much is the exact amount, and the silence or the agreement of the opposition for them to do that in the midst of COVID is obvious. I hold no brief for Kamlande, but it was based on humanitarian grounds, because remember, the money was supposed to do what? Respond to this disease that threatens humankind and all of Trinidad and Tobago's population. So it would have clearly be out of character, inhumane and brutal for our opposition to say, I don't trust you. I don't trust you, Rowley. I don't trust the PNM. And therefore I say no. No. It would have had too much repercussions politically and as human beings. All human beings would have said, yes. Yes. Go ahead, because it is in response to the COVID that was threatening, of course, all of Trinidad and Tobago and across the globe at the time. Rowley and they exploited that. You see, they exploited that because they know they were boxing. They were faced, Kamala and they were faced with the Hobson's choice, and they had to agree, and therefore they didn't want to be on the wrong side of history at the time, clearly, and that is what has happened. Now, I want to show a similar scenario utilizing, of course, the property tax and the repealing or non-repealing thereof. I want to show you that. Here it is. Kamla Prasad Bisasande, yes, they had the constitutional majority to repeal the property tax. And of course, leave the land and building taxes to, of course, subsist or prevail. But that consideration was up until the 2015 campaign and therefore the impending elections. But if I was Kamla Prasad Bisasa, hearing Rowley, especially in the presence of international, not observers, but certainly those emissaries from the various countries in the audience at Hyatt, and Rowley say, listen, it is dishonest, it will be dishonest, it will be disingenuous, it will be a lie for anybody who say that the PNM, if it gets into government after the 2015 general elections, will institute the property tax. They are being dishonest, and it is not true. That is what he said, in a sense. So if you are Kamla Prasad Bisasa, faced with, of course, all of the shenanigans of the PNM, whether it be Rishmi, whether it be, of course, the Section 24, and of course he at the forefront of marches and so on, that clearly we know now were as a result of storming teacups. But you had, of course, Roger, and you had, of course, the Father Harvey, and you had, of course, Vince, you had Ventor, you had, of course, the independent senator, and of course, you had the Calypsonians like Kroko and them coming down on the UNC. At that point in time, on behalf of, or spurred on by the nonsense Rowley was talking at the time. And that is serious nonsense because it caused a change of government. And today we are reeling from that, the repercussions of that. But the fact is that that occurred. But I put in myself as Kamala Prasad Bisesa at that point in time. And Rowley saying that no way we will interfere or pursue or engage in property tax. I could see her saying, well, no, that is not necessary, because if my counterpart, if my arch rival, who may form the next government, is saying that they would, I take him at his word. What she did not know, that the man is as dishonest as Mr. Benwood Dick. You know what I say Rowley is as dishonest as Mr. Benwood Dick. Understand that? But nobody could have known. If I didn't know what I knew about Rowley's rape and his pedophile background, and the fact that he tackled Manning and said Manning was corrupt, and that he was Minister of Planning and didn't know about the Napa Hotel, and he went after, of course, Calder Hart. And he appeared to be, of course, on the face of it, a corruption buster and a no-nonsense man. Now we know he's a blasted comedian, a chameleon as well. Yes, he metamorphosized into all kind of beasts. And a corruption promoter. We know that now. But we couldn't know that back in 2015, just as Kamala Prasad, because he was unknown at the time. And he set us up. He set us up for the kill that has occurred over the last 9 years of his belligerence, toxicity, and weaponizing government against the people. So that's the point I want to make. So I could understand Kamala Prasad Bisesa and Rowley would have, of course, been using that in the 2020 elections. Look, she didn't want to save all year. She didn't want to have money available for the parallel health system and all that. That time, he actually was using Kamala and they using that reverse psychology to line their own pockets, friends, family, etc., and cannot account up to now for the monies that was spent more than any other Caribbean country, and having a parallel system. So I will not be too hard. I will not be hard at all on Kamala Prasad Bisesa for, at the time, taking Rowley at his word, not realizing that his word in word a fart. You know what I say Rowley word in word a fart. In word a fart. So understand that. So let's get down to almost completion tonight, because it's 28 minutes past your 10 o'clock. Yes, I'm watching the time.
Until the PNM comes into office and brings sanity to the affairs of the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Let's hear the last thing he said.
You get a bucket, you put a hole in the bucket, and you put a hose in the bucket. The hose can pump all night. The bucket is not going to be full. So we are now in danger of losing significant amount of foreign exchange, create a confidence crisis, and the supply of foreign exchange is now a big headache.
But of course, does it sound prophetic? Since of course we know that he was talking back then, before 2015 elections, isn't it? Because he has not been able to bring in any kind of significant foreign direct investment in Trinidad, and therefore foreign exchange possibilities. We know that there is, of course, capital flight. Businesses prefer to go to Guyana and in other jurisdictions and not stay here in Trinidad. He was saying that of the UNC then, that had, as he said, 10 billion in reserve. That's a healthy economy. You have only 4 to 5 billion now. You eat up, you gobble up. And yes, of course, and with a high amount of what I consider to be gobbledygook talk. Gobbledygook talk, yes. He gobble it up. And then has the audacity to come in our faces and play that somehow you is Prime Minister.
What does the government tell you? The government tells you it's all right. There's no problem. There's no problem. But this will continue until the PNM comes into office and brings sanity to the affairs of the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
People, you hear him? Until the PNM come into office in 2015 and bring sanity. But of course, all of us, if we ain't strong, would have gone mad already. So thank God, we have people like Kamala Prasad Bisesa, the UNC, and of course platforms such as these to keep people focused and of course on the straight and narrow as we look forward to 2025 to get rid of these mad people. I can't say they're bipolar, I can't say they're schizophrenic, I can't say that they're suffering from some kind of malady that splits their personality. I can't say that. I think it's theatrics, it's deliberate, and it's about raiding the treasury of the country. When we're finished with this video, I'll tell you one final thing that came from Manning that will totally consummate and to, of course, put in perspective what we just learned from Rowley when he was opposition leader in 2015. But listen to what is happening today.
Well, as you know, Trinidad and Tobago is grappling with what economists call a severe
That is
foreign
today now.
exchange challenge, with potential impacts for businesses nationwide. The country, which heavily relies on imports for trade with international partners, is now feeling the pressure as this Forex situation takes hold. Economist and principal consultant at VSL Consultants Limited, Gregory Maguire.
What we're dealing with now, however, is a situation in which there are still about 6 to 8 months import cover. It's been going down, but there's still 6 months of import cover, which we do have a problem because we are spending far more foreign exchange than we are earning. And
you know what you're talking about, right? That 6 months, he's being generous. It's more like 5 months. And he's talking about the 4 to 5 billion that in reserve that is there now. That's what you're talking about.
Therefore, the reserves are declining rapidly.
Always happy to have Mariano Brown on the program with us. He joins us on the Zoom line to discuss what's happening via this Forex situation. What's the real issue here, and where do we truly start in terms of bringing a level of normalcy, especially to those in business who are going through a most trying time? And even for those who just want to travel, Mariano, 200 US car, you can't make a note with 200 US in this current dispensation.
Let's start with some objective facts. The objective facts are that in December 2014, the foreign exchange reserves of the country were 11.497, 11.5 billion US dollars.
So here what the fella before was talking about 4.7. Oh, I'm telling you, probably they would tell you 6 and 5 and so on, only to try to take the mess off the face. But listen to Mariano Brown, a PNM one, a lifetime one, he told us, and indeed a former minister in the Ministry of Finance in the Manning administration. Listen to him.
The time that the government had come into office, it was down to about $10.4 billion. Right?
So he confirmed that Rowley and them, when they come into office, met 10 point something billion.
And that's a substantial decline. It's $1 billion over a course of 8 months. And since that time, the reserves have fallen from 10.4. This is net official reserves. This is the central bank. You could look it up. To the end of August, about 5.6. Right. So in other words, it has fallen by, well, between December 2014 and September 2014, it's fallen by half, 50%. Right. So that means that it's completely downward. That's the trend. It's downward. It's not going anywhere. The IMF had indicated that under section 8 of the articles, Rule 2.A, the government was not in accordance with the rules by placing restrictions on foreign exchange. Now, technically, the government could argue.
Remember, of course, the IMF said that they breached the agreement that the government or the country has with it. That's to say, curtailing foreign exchange. And people who want to purchase items must have foreign exchange available to them. That is basically what the IMF is saying. And of course, that came as a result of the owner of Ramsaran. Remember that company that produces, of course, that famous Ramsaran milk products. Yes, well, he inquired through his lawyers, and therefore opened up the whole reality that is Trinidad and Tobago. And suddenly, Imbood want to talk, of course, to the business community and their representative organization. All your tail, all you feel, all you can get away with that. No, we are on top of you all, and we will be like a tick. In spite of the smelliness of all your hair.
That the foreign exchange market is actually a private sector market and is controlled by the banks. The central bank doesn't really give any directives, although it does control the rate, and in so doing controls the market. Now, what we've seen, of course, is that, as I said, the foreign exchange has continued to decline. There's no change where that is concerned. And that is affected by our continued decline in the energy sector, because it's a major earner. All right, we export in 2023, we exported, and 2022 we exported about 17 billion country as a whole, of which 14 billion was energy exports. In 2023 we exported about 10.5 billion, of which the majority, again, more than 80%, was energy. Right, 8.5 billion. So the non-energy sector is small, right? And those are the numbers, are the official numbers that you could see it in the review of the economy. So the bottom line is that we know that energy prices have been declining, and we know that our production has been declining. So by definition, the amount of foreign exchange that we earn is always going to be small or smaller. And that the non-energy sector is generating roughly a quarter, 25% of whatever the energy sector generates. So the bottom line, as long as the energy sector is not performing, and it is not, we know that, and that's the reason why we've been concentrated on trying to get access to Venezuela gas, and we know the difficulties with that, so we're not going to replicate that. So we do have a foreign exchange issue.
All right, people, of course, we have come to the end, I think, and that speaks for itself. Of course, tomorrow we will extrapolate a little more, and of course, I think I have been able to lucidly, conspicuously, and without the fear of contradiction, show where Rowley and they are consummate hypocrites. And now we're talking holier than thou. Tomorrow, of course, we will hear some of the platitudinous statements that he's making now, pretending to be some kind of economist and objectively analyzing the situation without, of course, giving and understanding and telling us that it is squarely the fault of this government and their mismanagement that they have, that we are in this crisis situation so soon after 2015. Yes, indeed.
Rowley, you dog! Low high the crime rate is in the country now, boy. Forest, come down. Imbood, come down. UNC, in tongue. I don't want to leave you on top the horse. I need you to come down here for me now. You're clear.
Yes, people, of course, we have come to the end of tonight's program. I trust that you got a wealth of information. One, two, of course, don't forget tomorrow morning, the ground report, Andy, Michael, myself. And of course, we will be on Gael, the Caribbean, from, of course, 8 o'clock until 10 o'clock. So, a very long session we'll have together. The time is already 58 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock. So, see you tomorrow night as we continue, of course, with these and other issues. Bye-bye.
Man can mama guy. You feel it too bright. Yeah, we need election tonight. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Take me to bed advice. Calling in, but them they not nice. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there. Hands when you come down. You're going on the beat up to mama guy. Poor people, good you get wet down. Shampa always in a zest. Least for development in a mess. Can you give the government credit, can arrest? Remember when you buy all the wig and dress? Comments are millions if you check. Tell the people them how you get it. PNM government them on it. Every minute them would raise the budget. PNM government them on it. Suffer poor people in pandemic. PNM government them on it. Give it 2% then they laugh at it. PNM government them on it. Them on it. PNM feel they bright. They can win election tonight. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Need me stupid advice. Shampa go to them, they not nice. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Rowley, come down, come down. UNC in tongue. Forest, come down, come down. UNC in tongue. Rohan, come down, come down. UNC in tongue. Imbut, come down, come down. UNC in tongue. PNM feel they bright. They can win election tonight. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Need me stupid advice. Shampa go to them, they not nice. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down.
When was it? 2011. This government tried to get the president to fire the board of the central bank.
No, Trinidad and Tobago is...
This will continue until the PNM comes into office and brings sanity to the affairs of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. You get a bucket, you put a hole in the bucket and you put a hose in the bucket. The hose can pump all night. The bucket is not going to be full. So we are now in danger of losing significant amount of foreign exchange, create a confidence crisis, and the supply of foreign exchange is now a big headache. But what does the government tell you? The government tells you, it's all right. There's no problem. There's no problem. But this will continue until the PNM comes into office and brings sanity to the affairs of the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, as you know, Trinidad and Tobago is grappling with what economists call a severe foreign exchange challenge, with potential impacts for businesses nationwide. The country, which heavily relies on imports for trade with international partners, is now feeling the pressure as this Forex situation takes hold. Economist and principal consultant at VSL Consultants Limited, Gregory Maguire.
What we're dealing with now, however, is a situation in which there are still about 6 months, 6 to 8 months import cover. It's been going down, but there's still 6 months of import cover, which we do have a problem because we are spending far more foreign exchange than we are earning, and therefore the reserves are declining and declining rapidly.
Always happy to have Mariano Brown on the program with us. He joins us on the Zoom line to discuss what's happening via this Forex situation. What's the real issue here, and where do we truly start in terms of bringing a level of normalcy, especially to those in business who are going through a most trying time? And even for those who just want to travel, Mariano, 200 US car, you can't make a note with 200 US in this current dispensation?
Let's start with some objective facts. The objective facts are that in December 2014, the foreign exchange reserves of the country were 11.5 billion US dollars. By the time that the government had come into office, it was down to about $10.4 billion. Right, that's a substantial decline. It's $1 billion over a course of 8 months. And since that time, the reserves have fallen from 10.4. This is net official reserves. This is the central bank. You could look it up. To the end of August, about 5.6. Right. So in other words, it has fallen by, well, between December 2014 and September 2014, it's fallen by half, 50%. Right. So that means that it's completely downward. That's a trend. It's downward. It's not going anywhere. The IMF had indicated that under Section Section 8 of the articles, Rule 2.A, the government was not in accordance with the rules by placing restrictions on foreign exchange. Now, technically, the government could argue that the foreign exchange market is actually a private sector market and is controlled by the banks. The central bank doesn't really give any directives, although it does control the rate, and in so doing controls the market. Now, what we've seen, of course, is that, as I said, the foreign exchange has continued to decline. There's no change where that is concerned. And that is affected by our continued decline in the energy sector, because it's a major earner. Right? We export, in 2023, we exported, and 2022, we exported about 17 billion country as a whole, of which 14 billion was energy exports. In 2023, we exported about 10.5 billion, of which the majority, again, more than 80%, was energy, right? 8.5 billion. So the non-energy sector is small, right? And those are the numbers, are the official numbers that you could see